This, that good number, don't do anything else.
Then I'll just check that once on page. I just like to get it right on yours.
How's the ranch?
Fuming.
Oh, yes. Yes, I've been through this.
I know.
These emotional roller coaster. No, raise that.
Erase that. Erase that. It was my last communication is I have a half a dozen things I want to say, but none of them are appropriate. I talked to.
Take that, write the email.
Yeah, delete it.
Yeah. Read it again.
I feel better because I got it off my chest now. Uh,
How are you? Doing good?
It's probably just a sweater.
Did you get Kim's email the other day about their
Hey, Flint.
65th?
I've had it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had my wrong email address, so I actually didn't get it. And Colette noticed it. She goes, "Hey, did you get this?" I'm like, she forwarded it, so I RSVP'd yesterday.
It'll
be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time. And I mean,
Okay, I didn't know that.
I think I maybe a third of their workforce right now, maybe. Everyone I knew is gone.
Really cool. On the history of the. So each hole is named after something.
Retirees and
no.
other agencies, exactly.
And so I just decided to-
Your paper one.
This is the point for the
Okay.
new board member. I don't know if you want to get Twitter
It is.
to read to give
10
them.
years since I.
I'll do it.
You spend it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
It's a time of year where they have trouble keeping it.
So, you okay? You got new glasses?
You noticed.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Plugged into the
I can
wall.
see
and
out of
all
his-
tired out.
You know what's interesting? Is I went and got my eye exam. You know how I always say, hey, I don't want to drive at night.
See,
Well,
people with that,
The,
I feel
Yeah,
totally.
cataract.
yeah,
My chart.
she said, yeah, you should not be driving. But it was sort of like.
Trying to earn some
like,
points
hey,
back
guys,
with you.
Can I just
Right.
go with them? But she said, no, until you see the surgeon and determine,
Uh-huh.
do not drive at night.
Wow.
I told.
Did you get a lot of flare?
Yes, and they gave me a new prescription. I haven't gotten it yet.
And then.
But she said,
3 feet
yeah,
from the
no
hole.
wonder you didn't want to drive. She
Right.
says, because you
So,
can't.
See, well.
That's quirky.
So little did we know.
I had this lump on my forehead. I had removed about a year ago. And about 2 months after the surgery, I noticed the vision in my left eye had changed. And, this was all external. It's like, why?
Yeah.
I thought, well, it's just post-surgery trauma and
Right.
things. So I waited another 6 months to actually go in and get the eye exam because it never corrected. So I got the exam done at a lens crafters. And she was right, it's changed. This one's still the same, but
Yeah.
that one's changed.
Yes.
And anyway, I mean, the frames I was wearing were like a year and a half old.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, I need to get one lens. No, we only do pairs. Okay, how much is it to,
Went out
put the lenses in these frames? Oh, it's $600.
15.
Okay, what if I get new frames? Oh, it's $595 with the lens. Yeah, and I said, thank you very much. I
Can't do
got-
that
and
project,
walked
can't do
out.
that project, can't do
I
that.
got these from iBuy Direct
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, the red one.
because I had the prescription.
Yes, you need the
I
red
got
one.
these and the sunglasses.
It
for,
was hilarious. No.
$219.
Yes.
I still need to get the computer glasses, but they'll be like 150.
It's totally fine.
It's
Oh,
amazing.
Oh, okay.
Like, younger
Thank
brother.
That's what we
Julie.
we
they
started
Found camera.
doing. That's
My
the thing.
sister and him.
Same thing. I'm like,
No, no,
I used to.
but apparently it's come
Present.
on real quick.
Quick, yeah.
And so now I know. Hi, Patty.
Good afternoon.
What?
By the way, he and I have been working,
Higher,
Miss-
lower, change.
I don't know if she's gonna show up, but,
I know. It's- You know.
oh, she is, that's her right there.
Like, hold on.
I need to get new glasses.
And then I forgot mine at home, so when I can be able to see, oh, where's the great up here?
It did.
So that.
Seriously.
I understand. I'm like.
If that
Like it?
tablet
Okay.
do
It was one of these
this,
funky,
they send
Okay.
these in batches.
like a, whatever,
Right.
carnival, but
A vendor.
yeah, and there was someone
I-
there.
I-
And I said, oh, well, maybe you work here,
It does not.
so I got it.
If iPad, I wouldn't.
Okay, good.
Super nice.
Good. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm team lead.
Okay.
Hey, you're, you're going to- he's on vacation starting tomorrow. No, so next week. And he's right now. Straighten in. Drum roll, please.
Yeah, we probably ought to ask him to step up. Pardon?
She's not.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing.
Maybe we're so used to having.
He's so here. I think he's. I just said.
Aiden may know.
Learn that.
What?
Jake, I've asked the same thing.
What?
Yeah, I did that one.
His face is familiar, and I can't remember his name. I can't remember anybody's name.
He's spoken, he's come here many times. and spoken. I think he's a ranger.
The Agawam.
No, I think
for
it's
the
completely
facilities, he would share with you first, because he would be there.
On that, huh?
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
on
yeah.
it? Okay.
Right in front of my stage.
Okay. It's not the same.
You do think about food, don't you?
I love food. I love.
Right. Call to order for the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors meeting for February 27th, 2024. Can I have a roll call, please?
President Hamilton,
Here.
Director Johnson,
Here.
Director Mack.
Here.
Director Townsend Smith.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions, deletions, amendments to the agenda?
No amendments to the agenda.
Um, I'll leave it there. I was considering asking to move something. Do we have an approval for the agenda? This is a new item for us, but apparently is a standard operating procedure in many other organizations. So I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda as stated.
I move that we approve the agenda as stated.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. Any person may address the board upon any subject not identified in this agenda within the jurisdiction of the Rainbow Municipal Water District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report and action at a subsequent board meeting. Do we have any speakers?
I've received no requests online, virtual, or in person. However, if at any point anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment and have joined us remotely, you can click the raise hand button located at the bottom of your screen. You will be alerted that you would like to speak. And when called upon, please unmute your microphone and ask the question or make comments in no more than 3 minutes. For those who have joined us by telephone, please dial *6 to unmute yourself and *9 to alert us that you'd like to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. And we apparently have no one, correct?
We have none. Thank you.
We do have one member of the public comment.
No
Okay.
requests.
But they haven't asked to speak. No.
Correct.
Okay. Employee recognitions. Claudia Ramirez, 5 years.
Yes, this is a great one. Claudia is my neighbor in the office, so got a chance to get to know Claudia really well. But just to give you a little background, she started at the district in 2019 as part-time employee and joined us full-time in 2022 and really a standout in that human resources and event planning area. She has revamped our performance evaluation process. So really keeping everybody on task as far as that goes, which is really good and really important because those things are easy to let lapse at times. And so Claudia keeps us all on our toes on that. One of the biggest things though is the events. Claudia's just brought tremendous fun and kind of, we play games at our all staff meeting and, just things like that I think have really increased staff engagement and camaraderie really. So huge, makes a huge deal at the district. And really on top of that, I think, in that human resource department, one of the most important things she does is she is really engaged with all of staff, with our operations group, which, a lot of times they're out in the field and she'll take time kind of at the end of the day to go and sit with that group and kind of make, have relationships and be somebody that they can come and talk to when there's issues, right? You don't feel like you're going to the principal's office to go talk to human resources. So those are the things that really stand out to me, but I mean, she's just an excellent employee and very happy to give her this 5-year award. And I'm looking forward to giving her the 10-year award in 5 more years.
Committee meeting summaries, Budget and Finance Committee.
President, members of the board. First of all, I just want to comment that I like the new agenda format. And I appreciate the fact that you guys have updated, modernized it. Thank you. The Budget Finance Committee meeting met on Tuesday, February 13th. We took a number of actions. And they are on your calendar today. Item 13, or rather, item 10G on your calendar, the camp program was reviewed, and we recommend to the board that the board adopt our inclusion of that program as part of our overall financial strategy. Item 10F on your calendar is the accompanying set of changes to the administrative code that are needed to make that viable for us. And we reviewed those by the staff and were unanimous in our recommendation that you move forward with that. Also, item 10H, administrative code changes on who needs to sign what in the way of checks. I think that what was recommended, the committee was very supportive and felt that what was being recommended put us more in the mainstream of how other water districts operate. And I think will also make it a little simpler, more efficient to issue checks of certain types. And then finally, you have on your consent calendar, item 9B, the mid-year budget adjustments. I think it goes without saying that the committee has reviewed that multiple times, as have you. And the committee is definitely very supportive of the mid-year changes that are contained therein. And the last thing is that the committee, it was time for the committee to elect a chairperson, and yours truly has been once again put in harness. And so we'll see how it goes from there. I appreciate the support and enjoy working with all of you and with the committees. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Or commiserations, whichever is appropriate.
Right, right. You want me to go on to engineering?
Yes, please.
Okay, Engineering and Operations Committee met on February 7th, which is a Wednesday. And the primary purpose of that meeting was to get a fairly comprehensive presentation of the current status of all of the active projects in the CIP buffet. Okay, and Chad and his crew did a very good job of bringing us up to date on what the status of the projects were, what issues, if any, were being faced by the project teams and the prosecution of those projects. And I think it was very helpful for the committee to just get that update, which we like to get roughly every quarter if we can, just so that we know what's going on. And it may very well be that at the next meeting, we might even begin to ask some questions around how our project managers are loaded, what's the balance of their projects and what they're carrying and what's in future store for them. And Chad is very good at planning, and I'm sure that he will be able to give us a little more information about that. The other item is on your agenda toward the end, and that is that the committee voted to recommend that you approve Rick as the alternate for the committee. It has kind of been customary over the years that the CIP and engineering manager be the alternate for the Budget and Finance Committee, and that the Chief Financial Officer serve as the alternate on the Engineering and Operations Committee, and that's on your agenda. And I will also put in a plug for Mig to be appointed. He has been a member when he was a board member of the Engineering Committee for a long time, and he's very knowledgeable, as you well know, and both from his experience here and previously. And I think Mig would be a fabulous addition to the committee, and I hope that this is personal now. I hope that you approve him for that. Any questions? That's all I got. Oh, and we did elections, and Steve McKesson, who is the current vice chair of the committee, will remain so. And once again, yours truly was put in harness. So there we go. Okay. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Flint.
And I was not at the communications committee meeting because I was serving jury duty, but I've watched the replay. And I have notes from Amanda who was there. So Jake gave an update on the crop swap program. And the big news there is that the MOU is complete and the next steps are to roll it out around the April or May timeframe. They also discussed updating the customer service survey, standardizing the rating scale on a 1 to 5 scale, simplifying some of the items of or topics of concern questions. So that's in progress. The big news is that there was in addition to the committee meeting, there was a strategic communications plan workshop that was held on February 15th with about 15 staff members, a couple of board members, and some committee members as well. So we had a nice cross collaboration of people who interact with our constituents in different ways, contributing to that. So at the upcoming meeting, we'll be giving an update and sort of summary of the findings and recommendations from that workshop. They also talked about community events. The Avocado Festival is April 21st, Sunday, April 21st. So any board members who'd like to volunteer to be, working in our booth that day, please let us know. We're also working on the Bonsall High School STEM field trip, which is scheduled for the same week, April 25th. Not intentionally, it just kind of tends to work out that way. And we're also promoting the North County Water Agency's 4th grade poster contest. Currently, it's been a little harder than usual to get into the elementary schools. They have a lot of new security protocols. We can't just drop off materials there or anything, but there are a couple of homeschool sort of charters in the area that were really interested in getting information about that. So that's exciting. And then they also talked about newsletter features, the quarterly newsletter that goes out to our residents who don't have accounts, who are on sub-meters, talking about detachment, the poster contest, and our 70th anniversary, and then the regular February newsletter, which we introduced Rick as our new CFO, some leak updates, a flume update, and then also another plug for the poster contest.
Thank you, Carleen. Consent calendar items. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted on by the board and at a one time without discussion. If any board member, staff member, or interested person requests that an item be removed from the calendar, it shall be removed so that it may be acted upon separately. Does anyone care to ask for a removal of any item? On the consent calendar, we have the minutes from last meeting. Fiscal year 23-24 mid-year operating budget adjustments, and the adoption of resolution 2024-02, fixing the time and place of a public hearing of proposed water availability charges for improvement district number 1, which is an annual activity that we get to do every early in the year. Is there a motion to accept and file these consent items?
I'll move that.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Johnson. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. And now we finally get to the fun and games, if I can figure out which page I'm on. Action items, discussable and possible selection of Division 3 Director and adoption of Resolution 2024-01, a resolution appointing a Director of Division 3 of the Rainbow Municipal Water District. At this time, we'll open the floor for discussion. What I'd like to do is go alphabetically and ask that the other candidate please step outside so We can do that. So Lisa, if you don't mind, we'll try to be quick. Yes, please. Hello, do you have an opening statement you'd like to make?
I don't. I thought you were asking
That's fine.
questions, so
I wanted to give you the opportunity if you did. Does the board have any specific questions that they'd like to ask Ms. Dale?
I do not.
I have.
Go ahead.
How long have you been a ratepayer?
I've been a ratepayer for 23 years, I think.
Great.
Quite a long time. Seen a lot of changes throughout the years.
Good. baby.
Just to elaborate on that, I've seen changes with the agricultural community over the years where it was a very robust avocado area. It's changed. It's changed in my own backyard quite a bit. Seen the fires roll through here in 2007. And I got to tell you, I have to thank Rainbow staff for saving my house during that fire. I talked to the superintendent after the fire and learned that the staff went up into the fire area and actually did some work on one of the booster pumps to boost the water. And it was that water that my husband was able to put on our house and save it because we were in a direct line for that fire. So I have a huge appreciation for this staff and what they can do, especially under emergency circumstances, but what they do every single day. Yeah, so I've been a ratepayer for a while. I ran for the board in 2005 during a recall event. That was unsuccessful. But since that time, I've retired from the city of Oceanside, and I really wanted to stay engaged with the water industry because it is my passion. It's an industry that I absolutely love. I loved going to my job every day, and I really wanted to continue doing that. And that's why I work part-time for a consulting firm. So I still am engaged in the industry. And I see this as another opportunity to still be engaged, bring in those 3 decades of experience and really provide maybe some expertise that isn't represented on the board right now. Certainly, Jake and I have similar experiences being executives in charge of an organization like this. But yeah, bringing that expertise in, I think I may have a perspective that maybe my fellow candidate doesn't have that I can bring.
I have a question too.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Can you provide, I know you've shared those experiences, which are very valued at it. Can you provide some additional detail about your relevant experience and how you feel that would best benefit the district and its customers?
Well, I think that having longstanding relationships that have been established through many, many years of being in the community, I think are very valuable. I have very good relationships with the neighboring agencies, not only with their staff, but with their board. For instance, I worked at the city of Oceanside, so I'm still very engaged with what they're doing there. And there's a lot of common things between what happens at Oceanside and here. There's a joint use agreement for treatment of the sewer. Tom and I revamped that a couple of years ago, so I know that intimately, and I'm very aware of the project that's proposed at Weiss to try to get some water from the city of Oceanside. But I also have good relationship with Vista Irrigation District and the city of Carlsbad, city of Escondido. Rob Grantham up at Rancho California is a very good friend of mine. He's the general manager there. So I have relationships with folks that extend beyond San Diego County as well.
I'm engaged in the community. I'm working with North County Fire Prevention District. The chief is on my speed dial. We're working collaboratively on a couple projects, namely trying to get some funding for that fire station down the street. I think there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate with them in the future. I was at the helihydrant ribbon cutting and the demonstration. And so I understand, the
But it was
nexus.
that was just a walk down the street.
It was actually, it was down from my house off of Welt. But I was really proud of the district. Really, really proud. I have to say that for years, I've really been the district's champion, in the sidelines here, even though it hasn't been the agency that I've necessarily been had been leading. But I really think this district has come a long ways. I remember the days when the board members were fighting with each other, and there was, you guys wouldn't even talk to each other, not you, but I mean, those that were sitting in your seats. And it was very contentious. The GMs were, cycling through very frequently. And this is a great group of people. It's a excellent staff. I have to say, some of the staff came from my own staff at Oceanside, Tom Pilford, Robert Gutierrez. So you're benefiting from having Robert here. But those are just some of the reasons, I've been in the community a long time. I think I understand Fallbrook. I understand the ratepayers. I think it goes without saying, just having been involved with local government for a long time, I understand the role of the board and procedurally what has to happen, hiring and firing of these two gentlemen over here. Just kidding. Yeah. So I would be honored to be a board member and serve alongside you and work collaboratively with you and continue, advancing this district forward. I think, like I said, district's come a long way, but I think it's in really good shape right now, and I'm very proud to be a constituent here.
Thank you, Carrie.
Looking down the path there, we have a situation that the question is what do you see as our most pressing issues going the next couple of years? And how would you help us address those?
Yeah. Well, I talked a little bit about those last time. One of them's infrastructure, always infrastructure. When you have millions of dollars of stuff in the ground that you can't even see, there's a huge liability there, but a responsibility too, to ensure that it's maintained and working properly, and that the dollars that come in from the ratepayers are spent where they should be in a priority manner. I think that's a big issue, and I think a lot of agencies struggle with that. Of course, that dovetails into the rates because you need to collect money from your ratepayers in order to pay for that. So that's a difficult, I think a difficult issue that this board has to make decisions on annually or whenever those rates are coming around. And I think right now the Met rates are a little crazy. I don't know what's going on at Met, but they're pretty high. So I think that's going to be very challenging, but being able to work through and understand where those are coming from may help piece those apart and may find strategies in order to mitigate some of those. Some of those are long-term strategies. One of the questions that came through too was just about talent in the workplace or positive workplace culture. And I think that goes hand in hand with talent management. There's a lot that the board can do to put forward salaries and benefits that are very attractive. But once people get here, I think it's everyone's responsibility to develop programs that can really keep those staff here, keep them engaged, recognize them for what they're doing. I established a program in Oceanside, or built upon what was already there, really, to recognize employees. It's very similar to what's going on at the board here, but it was done at the department level. We recognize people for work anniversaries, whether they got their certifications or degrees, or they had advanced. We recognized employees for just coming on board, new employees. Here's your new coworker. And I think that is one of the most cost-effective things that an agency can do to help retain talent. And everybody's struggling with talent right now. Very, very hard to find people, but when you do find people, you want to keep those people here and keep them appreciated.
Not let agencies like Rainbow pilfer them away from other agencies.
Yes. Yes. That does happen. It does happen. So, yeah, I think I've answered
Thank
your
you.
question on that.
I appreciate it. Are there any other questions? Carrie, thank you very much.
May I add one more thing?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I wanted to let you know that I've not just been sitting at home, you know, hoping that you'll appoint me. I've been tuning into the committee meetings. I tuned into the Engineering and Operations Committee meeting on my birthday. Attended the Finance Committee meeting, both virtually, and I'm really impressed with everybody that provides comments and participates. I'm impressed with the staff, and I'm impressed with everyone that's participating. I've spent some time going through the board packet, and I think it was very helpful to have attended those committee meetings to provide some additional perspective on some of the actions that are before the board today. And yeah, I'm very excited for the opportunity. Like I said, this is my passion, and it would be a dream to just be able to work within the industry that, you know, it's my specialty area, and contribute to what you all are doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Heard that door.
Thank you, Lisa, for your patience in waiting.
No problem.
And that, would you like to make an opening statement or not?
I will only say that I'm on the back end of a cold, and if my voice goes out or I cough, please bear with me.
Okay. Any questions?
Hi, one. How long have you been a ratepayer here in Rainbow?
Close to 4 years.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Please.
Lisa, tell us what you think are the district's most pressing challenges and how you can contribute to navigating those issues.
Sometimes I wonder if everything isn't a pressing challenge to a small district, but every district is struggling with aging infrastructure, inadequate infrastructure, climate change, a changing ratepayer group from farmers to people moving into new homes that never heard of the avocado capital of the world. Lots of daily issues, and they can become very pressing depending, in my opinion, mainly on finances. And I'm going to put a plug in for your new CFO, because when I heard he was here, I almost literally breathed a sigh of relief, thinking, if there are answers to be found, you've got the man to find them. And that to me changes the focus of some of the pressure of the concerns I just mentioned, and really, to me, makes the focus on the detachment. And I hear people talk about a divorce. I look at it like changing schools. The curriculum's the same, got the same old water and stuff to deal with, but you can have new friends, you can have maybe new rules. And there's going to be a culture impact. Just little things like your poster contest. Did you know Met has a huge poster contest? Are you going to do both? Are you going to, how much are you going to be Met people now? And how much are you going to leave behind friends and neighbors to the south? And is that even necessary? Is there a way to combine it? I personally would hope there's a way to maintain ties with old friends and create ties with new friends. And among our new friends, I think it's imperative that we get in tight with Eastern as soon as we can. Steve Corona, a former Rancho board member, is now the Eastern board member whose district will encompass Rainbow, and he will represent Rainbow's interests. I know him well. He will be delighted to come down and give presentations here to us, letting us know what's going on at Eastern and kind of keeping us up to date on the Met world. But by the same token, what I see a lot of agencies liking up in that area is for us to go to them, and that we create a committee, a couple board members, maybe a couple senior staff members, and make periodic visits to them and learn about them, let them learn about us, become a team as soon as we can. So I think it's sort of a big picture. It's not the logistics of how do we get the water here. It's how is this cultural change, if you will, going to impact just the way Rainbow looks at the world, operates in the new world, whatever, however. I see that as a subtle but very big issue.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Want me to leave or just wait?
No, we're open discussion at this point in time. Please ask Gary back in.
I breathe the same sigh of relief. I'm just saying.
After we met him at the CSDA conference, we did too. We feel very lucky. Is there any discussion that the board would like to have?
I just have one issue, and that's it, because I think both these women are really,
Clearly.
really good. Yes. I have an issue with the fact that Carrie's involved with a consultant, and I've had issues myself with those kinds of things. So I wouldn't be able to vote for her.
Okay,
That's all.
even though we've sought legal counsel to.
Oh, I've
address
been
it.
through legal counsel. Yeah.
Okay,
I have a comment.
Both of you are very qualified, and we are honored of your interests. And since our last board meeting, I have been really reflecting on your strengths, what you would bring to the board. And I believe both of you have a genuine interest in serving the Rainbow ratepayers. So thank you for your interest.
I'd like to say one thing too. I'd like to compliment both of you ladies. You're extremely intelligent. You, either one of you would bring tremendous amount
Mhm.
to our board. I can see that. At this time, do we nominate or do we do that later on?
You can make a nomination at this time if you wish. There's other discussion. I would like to add to the comments made is this has probably been one of the toughest decisions I've had is, trying to determine which of these two wonderfully qualified individuals would be the best person for or candidate to fill the seat. And it's almost down to, flip a coin or high card wins, type of thing for me. Because I have no hesitation or reservations relative to either one of you.
Well, as I said, I think both you ladies were wonderful. But I would like to nominate Carrie because she has a tremendous amount of expertise, brings a lot to the table. And the deciding factor for me between the two ladies is why I asked both you ladies is one is a 23-year-old ratepayer in our district and the other one's been here 4. And so I'm giving the nod to Carrie for being a ratepayer for this long. So I would like to nominate Carrie.
And I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to nominate Carrie Dale for the District 3 position. Nominated, motion made by Director Mack, seconded by Director Johnson. We do a roll call vote for this particular position.
Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Townsend Smith,
No.
Director
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1. Townsend Smith opposed.
Congratulations.
And thank you both so much for your
Yes.
efforts.
Lisa,
you.
I don't know what your interest is, but there is an agenda item that I was considering moving, which has to do with the revitalization of our district headquarters. I understand you have a real estate background to some degree,
Mhm.
and
Be great.
we are looking at appointing an ad hoc committee to help us in that activity. And if you have an interest, I'd appreciate you staying at least through item E. Thank you. 10B, discussion on possible, oh, excuse me, no. Get up here. I think Teresa has to swear you in.
Congratulations.
Very wonderful. You talked about employee motivation and things. We instituted about 7 years ago a challenge activity. All our participants essentially get the basic challenge point, which shows a district. There are 5 challenge points on the board up here: responsibility and integrity, innovation, professionalism. And these are awards made by the employees recognizing their peers. It's not done by management. And we actually have a number of people that have received all 5. each one of those programs. But it's a internal motivation, addressing the issue to keep staff motivated. So, welcome on board. Thank you very much. Discussion of possible appointment of board officers, representatives, adoption of ordinance 2405, amending the administrative code section compensation. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, I think I think in the packet, this is an item to fill our vacant
Seats.
seats. Yeah, I think in the title there on the
And those seats are vice chair, board member participation on the E and O committee, aqua position.
Aqua. CSDA.
no, Michael Max is CSDA. The three vacant spots are the engineering and operations committee rep, that was MIG, the vice president of the board, that was MIG, and the primary representative to Aqua. Three vacant
positions.
spots.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
On the Aqua, since I was the alternate and I always went, I'd like to elevate that and step down from CSDA. And I know Julie just got appointed CSDA something.
Financial Corporation Board Member.
Yeah, so it sounds to me it might be inducted maybe for her to go over there and
Okay.
I'll do Aqua. This is a suggestion.
Is there any discussion or objections to that? Do we have to make a nomination in formal, or is just the agreement?
I think probably, a slate and then, nominate a slate.
Slate,
fill
okay.
those positions and then kind of do it all at once.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
Wasn't Meg gonna be doing the E and O committee still?
He is
Wouldn't
as
be
a
board.
private individual, not as a board member.
Right. Oh, okay. Got it.
President Hamilton, I would have an interest in the vice president as well as the alternative for Aqua. And if the board would like, I would be happy to represent CSDA.
Do you have an interest in serving on the E and O committee?
You.
You do? Okay.
Thank you.
So we have Julie, a slate of Julie for VP, alternate on Aqua. Director Mack is Aqua representative. And Julie for CSDA.
Unless Patty would like to do that.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Do we need, I know we have it in the past, but do we need to have a CSDA all?
I don't think we have in the past. The CSDA things, I mean, the way the admin code works, kind of those regular CSDA meetings, I mean, it's open to all the board members too. That's kind of one of the key organizations. And then also Aqua kind of works the same way. I guess the rep is really more for the, for the Region 10 meetings and things like that, the rep and the alternate.
And also they also represent JPIA.
And the JPIA, correct.
To do voting for that.
Because I would like to be the alternate because I do participate in the Region 10 Aqua.
Right.
events.
I guess my point was it doesn't preclude others
Okay.
from,
Okay.
participating in those.
Right.
Those
events.
activities, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have a question. Carrie, would you have an interest in CSDA?
Sure.
Yeah. Because I could be the alternate for both of them. Or whatever you, or you and I, you would be the alternate, whatever you prefer.
Why don't I start as the alternate? and
Okay,
Move up later.
okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
And I did want to clarify in this item, the second part, which is kind of hidden in it, was an ordinance to clean up the administrative code to remove the San Luis Rey Council.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which is why it's titled
Right.
compensation.
And I did have a question about the ordinance. That
Go ahead.
my question was, we are a wastewater agency as well, and I wondered if there would be consideration to look into CASA, which is a statewide sewering organization. It's very focused on boards
Mhm.
as well as executives. It's a great conference. It's twice a year, and I attended it a couple months ago. CWEA is also a very good wastewater conference, so not that we need to take action now, but maybe it's
Yeah.
something that Jake could look into and come back with a recommendation, but I think it's very water focused right now, and perhaps wastewater could be pulled in.
Yeah, I agree. And that's,
agree, yeah.
that's something I was going to comment on. The San Luis Rey Watershed Council was on, but that's been kind of defunct for the last couple of years. And so probably appropriate, maybe as soon as next month, bring back kind of a,
Yeah.
set of
Are there other
options.
organizations that we should be?
Yeah,
looking
because
at
I
being
think as
engaged
we,
with?
kind of to something that Lisa kind of mentioned, the Southern California Water Coalition. There's a lot of participation up there by the Riverside County agencies too. So I think there's a few, and CASA is a great one. I've been to several of those conferences, and on the wastewater side, which I think does, sometimes we tend to lose focus
Forget
on
it.
that a little bit. Yeah, but it is a big part of what we do actually. So I really like the suggestion, and
Yeah.
staff can bring that back next month. to take a
Okay.
look. Yeah.
I think that's appropriate. And any other organizations that we should be more actively engaged in.
Yep.
So, Teresa, did you get that slate?
I did, thank you. Would you like me to repeat it?
You want to reiterate just to make sure that we know what we're voting on?
The nomination is for Director Johnson to be vice president. Also to be the CSDA representative, Director Dale as the alternate. For the Aqua, we have Director Mack as a representative and Director Johnson as the alternate. And for the Engineering and Operations Committee, Director Dale.
Okay, is there a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Johnson. All those in, it's an ordinance, so we have to do a roll call vote.
Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Mack.
Aye.
Director Townsend Smith,
Aye.
Director Hamilton.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
We have one more director.
Apologies. Director Dale. Apologies. Director Dale.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Knowing that, we may want to select a new secretary. Or does the board want me to,
Oh, you're doing a good job. I don't know.
well, if
Are you
I can
asking
hold.
to
both on-
resign?
No. Okay. Okay. I'm good with both.
Can we be secretary and the-
Uh, Item number C, 10C. Consider authorizing the general manager to execute a memorandum of understanding between Rancho California Water District, Rainbow Municipal Water District, Fallbrook Public Utilities District, City of Oceanside, and Valley Center Municipal Water District for participation in the regional crop swap program.
Yes, and we've been through this a couple of times. I think we went through last month, so Director Dale's probably already seen this to some extent. But this is a program originally, formed by Rancho Water years ago. With help of some grant funding, both state and the bureau, and they were looking to expand this. They got and if you want to go ahead and move the next slide, they got $5 million from DWR, and the program really covers kind of some main, key things. It's all based on water efficiency and really preserving ag. And so it promotes crop conversion. So moving from higher use crops to lower use crops, there's incentives for that, pretty significant incentives. Also avocado rootstock upgrades. So basically replanting a grove with more drought tolerant, salt tolerant type avocado rootstock, and also stumping. So there's water conservation there as people kind of reinvigorate their groves through stumping activities. The program's been enhanced to include irrigation efficiencies. So, all kinds of, watering techniques and devices and things, soil moisture sensors and, things that agriculture users would benefit from. And again, based on water efficiency. And then a lot of other BMPs. You're talking about, mulching and all those are kind of included in the MOU that was attached. The program's been expanded or the proposal is to expand the program to not only include the service area Rancho Water, but also Rainbow, Fallbrook, Oceanside, and Valley Center, which we all share, agricultural customers. So next slide. And these are, it's not, I wish it was a little more readable, but at least want to give you a flavor. These are all the things I had kind of talked about, the property upgrades, which would be the conversions, but these actually give the incentives. You see the table down there at the bottom left. So you're talking to, the higher the water use efficiency, the incentives kind of rise from there. But again, all the things we talked about, avocados to wine grapes, citrus to wine grapes, avocados to citrus, anything that provides that water efficiency. And it's really not limited to these. These are the ones that are defined. But if somebody comes and says, hey, I want to plant olives, I want to plant, whatever it is, as long as there's water efficiency there, it can be evaluated as part of the program.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah.
Like when a conversion, for example, avocado to citrus says up to 30, is that like per acre?
Per acre.
Per acre.
Incentive amount per acre. Yeah.
Wow.
That's it. So yeah, the incentives are pretty significant. The idea is for the program to be successful, right? So we want to incentivize these conversions and the efficiencies. So this is the kind of the framework for the program as it sits today, and it's as defined in the MOU. Next slide. So I did attach a draft memorandum of understanding between the partner agencies, and really it defines all the eligibility and allocation amounts, some of the stuff that we went through now, and eligible customers. The work is supposed to be complete by September 2026. So that was kind of the grant award date to, give a 3-year window. I think you can request funding as far out as the end of that year, like December 2026. At times there are extensions available too. I know previously the program was extended a couple of times, but that's the initial expiration date on the program. So the idea is to, hit it hard here, like Carlene had mentioned, in April or May to really get the program started. What we worked out was there'd be an initial 2.25 million, which would be available to the partner agencies. So 2 million available from Rancho, 2.25 for the partner agencies, and then 750,000 for administration, some administration cost. As part of it, we are going to, we would put upfront a $25,000 contribution, and really that's for program startup. Rancho is going to administer the program. They're going to hire a contract employee for the kind of the term of the agreement. And really that helps us, it doesn't impact our staff with having to do applications and, flood of customer calls or things like that. And it keeps the program consistent, right? Where everybody's, same format, same, everything looks the same, and really have one expert that's coordinating all of the things that have to happen, the different site inspections and reporting, once you do have a site that's completed all the reporting. There is a contribution, and this could be covered by the grant funding, but we did commit to, hey, if we use X amount of the program, we'll commit up to 15% of that to cover those excess costs, right, for the site inspections and things like that. So those would be cost to the district. But when you're talking about, the benefits, and I'll get into the benefits, but it's really kind of a long-term play to stabilize our demands. If people are replanting groves, they're investing in that product, and really they're investing in water, to be quite honest. So, and then the MOU has, of course, and Alfred and his team took a nice review at the made some comments, but just the general legal and termination clauses and things like that. So also confidentiality for the customers, right? That, we're not going to share information and those kind of things.
I have a question regarding the marketing.
Mm.
What is the plan of how to market this so everyone is aware of it? And it's not just for a few that have
Happened to me.
access.
Right. That's,
Is a blanket marketing, so it's aware for all individuals.
yeah, that's a great question.
Mhm.
And really, I mean, that's that $25,000 up front. So all 5 agencies are pushing that up out front. There's going to be a dedicated website for the program, and really it's going to cover multiple things, right? Obviously, there's some marketing available there, so we'll put a link on our website, and we've already got kind of a page that develops an interest list. So there's a website that's developed, and that's where people actually start the application process. So they're going to be able to go on the website and say, you know, I have a 5-acre avocado grove, X number of trees, you know, and kind of determine that initial eligibility. But it's kind of a streamlined way to kind of get them into the process.
And-
In addition to that, the marketing, there is going to be consistent marketing materials that are developed. Like there's a trifold that's going to go out to the avocado festival, and there's and really, again, this is kind of this administration, Rancho's putting together all those marketing materials to pass out. It's got all of our logos.
And will this also be available in Spanish?
Nobody's asked that question. I'll ask that question.
Would
I'm
you
not sure.
please- Because there are individuals that may not have the primary language of English, and I would like them to have accessibility to translation if
Yeah, that's a really great point. And we've got a little experience with this with when we did the Measure B, and well, a lot of the things we put out have to be in multiple languages, but it's pretty simple for us. So if that's a desire, we'll just make sure it happens.
Yeah,
that
true.
Thank you.
that we put that
because
out.
there are ratepayers that do their primary language is not English, and I would like us to be sensitive to them that they are able to access it through their language.
It's a great comment. We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
So again, the program benefits assistance to our ag customers to, attain water use efficiencies. So helps them kind of lower their water bill, potentially be more viable, more profitable. And really, kind of the core function to maintain our agricultural presence here in Southwest Riverside and North County. And it helps us to stabilize water rates. I think, I know I read last year when I was looking at the process that you guys went through, and you took a hard look at what happens if ag goes away, right? It doesn't just impact ag, it impacts our entire customer base, and it impacts them significantly. So these were in the staff report too, but just a couple of, where areas where this really hits our strategic plan focuses, both on the water resources side, making sure that we're efficient and we can withstand, drought and, reliability and all those areas that hits. But then also, again, that really it's looking out for our entire customer base by, maintaining sustainable rates, sustainable demands, here in the region. And then, it is a culture of this community. So really trying to maintain that as well. So, and again, that's the request that the board of directors authorize the general manager to sign the MOU without any material changes. There could be some little tweaks. I don't know if every, I's been dotted, but without any material changes for the regional crop swap program.
How soon do you have to give the 25,000? Nobody signed, the moment you sign?
That's what the MOU dictates. Basically, once we all sign and, we've all joined the program, then we have to check.
I have a question and a comment. Comment is, I love this program because for a small agency, programs like this are very difficult to roll out. And so you're spreading the costs among a lot of agency, including a lot of large ones. So this is, this is awesome. Question about whether the dead avocado trees are eligible for doing the conversion, because there's a lot of properties that don't have live avocado trees. Does it have to be live in order to
Good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. And
or
it's
can you go back like 5 years in time when they might have been watered?
Yeah, the specific framework is still being developed. So we're still talking about like, what is the maximum property size and things like that. And that's one of the issues. So in the previous programs, it wasn't, because you really had to show a water saving. So if you've been off for I think it was within, and Rick, you might remember this, within a couple of years.
This was my program.
Yeah.
I think.
Few year look back.
Yeah, you could look back a few years, and if you had a you know, a steady demand at some point, then you were still eligible. I think it's actually going to be a little more flexible on this one. So that's something, you know, where they're letting actually some of the agents, you know, like we can kind of create some of our own rules.
That's what I read. So
Yeah.
I wondered if you could create some rules like that.
Right.
With the trees.
Because for us, our drive, and it is obviously we're after water efficiencies. We're in as a region on that. But like you said, there's kind of an alternative goal there to, you know, kind of establish agriculture as, you know, kind of a foundation of the district. So or maintain it. So I think that still meets what we would be after. I just need to make sure that, you know, the grant, there's nothing conflicting there with the grant and all that. So but I'll report back on exactly what that looks like. But I know at least you can go back a few years. If you've been gone for 10 years or something like that, it might, you know, that might, but we'll try.
I
Let's see
mean,
what we do.
I think with the water authorities ag rate, that when it changed and you had to, you know, implement the requirements of the regional board, probably a lot of folks dropped away from watering their trees and being gentlemen farmers. And so that might be a point in time where you want to try to get in front of that date.
Yeah. So we're going to roll it out in the next couple of months. So we're pushing it hard because we do have that deadline 2026. So that's.
Yeah. And what I like is the multiple agencies, because there's input that's going to be coming from the agencies to make this a win-win for ag customers, ratepayers, that even though they have had a dormant grove, that they still want to pursue something and they need support in starting it because the startup is very expensive.
Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second.
I heard a second, but you were the second? Okay. Moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Townsend Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item number D.
Yeah.
You want me to read this?
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
Consider approval of out-of-agency service agreement to transfer water and wastewater services for APNs listed from Rainbow Municipal Water District to Fallbrook Public Utilities District.
Yeah. So this item, this is something that staff's been working on for several months. But owner, multiple parcels, right on the border of our two agencies, Rainbow and Fallbrook. And we have facilities that aren't nearby these parcels. They don't front the parcels. And it would really be difficult actually to make those extensions. There's no public right of way. It's, you know, a couple thousand feet of pipeline. Not really advantageous to us too, because it would create some dead ends, you know, kind of unable to loop the service. And so this is something, you know, we've done over the years with Fallbrook, is where, you know, where we hit these boundaries where just doesn't make sense and it goes both ways. You know, we have quite a few properties that we serve that are actually in Fallbrook's or within Fallbrook's boundary. And they have existing pipelines that front these properties, and it's already looped. And so anyways, staff got together and just, you know, in the good of the customer, decided, you know, to put together this out of service area agreement. Again, but yeah, more cost effective to the customer, and really difficult for us too. Not really an infrastructure advantage. It's not we're not talking about tract homes that are going to be built here. They're just a couple of single family homes.
What division?
This is in
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Division 3.
Division 3. That's what I
Thank you.
So anyways, we would recommend that we approve this out of service area agreement. And if you have any questions?
And the ratepayers are fine with this?
It was a request.
Okay.
It was a request of the ratepayer.
And one additional comment. This was approved at FPUD's board yesterday.
Okay,
Conditionally, that the Rainbow Board approves it today.
thank you.
And I apologize. I should have put a map in here and I didn't.
That
Get
was,
that next
that was my question. And then I'll, like a map for
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
And then also, does this go to LAFCO? Do they have to approve this?
They
also?
don't because there's a clause in the code that basically says, you know, if it's similar service by, you know, a similar situated agency, that it doesn't have to go to LAFCO.
Yeah.
Now,
Mutually agreeable by
Yeah.
both parties.
Gotcha.
right,
Okay.
yeah, there is there you go. I'm glad he's here. LAFCO is looking at that actually as I think in the next couple of months as
Mm.
you know, if they're what they want to do about that, if they do want these things to come through them, or I heard there could be a kind of a middle ground where they review them, you know, once annually to kind of just make sure there's nothing weird going on. And I don't know, there's been all kinds of proposals going on. So that could change in the future, but right now that is the case. And so to me, it's been kind of refreshing to, you know, have two agencies that
I agree.
and just kind of look out for the good of the customer. You know, again, if this was a 100-house tract where they're going to spend millions on infrastructure, yeah, you probably would have them extend the pipelines and do those kind of things. But when you're talking about rural single family homes, I think it's nice to have a good working relationship with FPUD to be able to do these things. I meant to put in the map. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I know it's in a little corner
Any other discussion? I move we approve the MOU, the outer agency service agreement.
Second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Townsend Smith. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 10E, discuss.
In D, I don't know if that's gonna follow you up later or not. Item D,
Mm-hmm.
bunch of stuff about compensation.
No, that was actually in that was an error. We were doing just the committee appointments. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Item number E, discussion of possible formation of an ad hoc committee for revitalization of district headquarters facilities.
Yeah. So again, this is something we talked about last meeting. Just kind of reviewed some of the history on what's been looked at as far as the headquarters here and the buildings, and you know, as far back, I'm sure it goes further back than this, but the recent history started in about 2016 as far as looking at, you know, are we going to rehab the site here? It moved into potential to develop this site and move elsewhere, but you know, kind of got shelved a little bit when the deal from across the street, the sheriff's center that was potential, you know, there was potential use, a mixed use facility that was being explored, that fell apart. It kind of dropped from there. There was kind of some other priorities going on.
COVID also had
COVID, yeah, all those things kind of probably fed into that. But it really is, we really need to take a hard look at it again and figure out exactly what we want to do, both short-term and long-term. I think we have some short-term needs regardless. And then, but long-term, we need to take a look at how we want to approach our headquarters facilities and what we're going to do here. The buildings, nearly 50 years old, all the buildings, and yeah, you know the issues.
Just as background for Lisa and Carrie, this building is roughly 50 years old. We're doing patches on patches. We have a building that was flooded out about a year and a half ago that got condemned for asbestos. 4 years. It's been 4 years since
Before
that.
COVID.
Yeah.
Wow.
That basically is empty. We put in temporary trailers to cover that. The goal and objective of the board of directors at the time we formed the initial ad hoc committee to study this was to try to see if we can't leverage assets such as this particular property so that the cost to getting the new facility was essentially a net zero impact on ratepayers. In other words, use assets we have and relationships and deals that we can strike. We looked at actually doing a high density development in this particular 26 acres, is it, Chad?
Oh, to be honest.
32 total.
Yes.
32 total,
Yeah.
26 usable, something like that.
Yeah.
So the purpose of we want to re-resurrect this ad hoc committee to move forward because we just spent $100,000 to put a new roof on
150.
150
Yeah.
over here to do leaks, and it's costing us more to try to maintain this facility than it potentially would to finance a new one. So that's kind of a background of the last 7-8 years since I've been on the board of what we're trying to accomplish, and the ad hoc committee is the lead on that.
I'd like to be on that again if that's possible. And and I know Flint was on it, and he had instrumental in some really good ideas that him and I were talking about. So I'd like to do that again. I think that could benefit the board.
Okay.
Since I already have the background in it.
And Lisa, I think this is something, if you have an interest, we would love to have.
Yes.
Like, say something totally, it's like that on the subject. Your former general manager at two public meetings stated unequivocally, new headquarters, whatever form that might take, was gonna cost right here. That's it. I have a bad feeling about in people's minds, just FYI.
Okay, well, obviously, we're in a catch-22 where we need new facilities. Times have changed.
Sensitive.
Remember distinctly,
No, and I agree with you. I mean, my preference would be to leverage our assets to try to minimize any expense to ratepayers. I think it sends a bad signal for us to go build new buildings, no matter how desperately they're needed. But it also has an impact on employee morale and employee retention.
Safety.
There's ripple effects all the way through, not to mention spending money to put patches on patches just as rubs me the wrong way. At some point in time, you just got to cut your losses and run.
So I suggest that we do approve this because there is a need, and there is an interest to pursue multiple options to bring back to the board.
So I
I'll
think
second
we'd
that.
want to put a slate, like who wants to,
Slate.
you could have as many as 2 board members. So it
Correct.
could be up to 2 board.
I would like to be a part of that. It's okay.
Michael and Patty. Lynn.
So Mac and Townsend Smith,
Mhm.
Lisa, are you interested in doing that?
Awesome.
There's no restriction on having outside ratepayers on ad hoc committees. So, we looked into that earlier.
Can we have Flint on it too, since he was?
Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
Flint's name on it. Chad, were you part of that?
On and off. I don't think
Okay.
I was officially a part on it.
I would nominate Chad.
Yeah, I would be happy to sit on
Yeah,
it.
that'd be
Okay.
good.
And myself.
And Jake. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Flint?
Because based on what we did before, if we are looking to minimize, if we're looking to minimize
ratepayer impact, then whatever program we come up with, the money, the financing is going to be critical. And it just strikes me that to move forward on this without our CFO being involved on the committee would be a little cuckoo. So I'm gonna just suggest to you that Rick,
Yes.
the financial brains of the operation, would be a great addition to the committee.
I don't disagree with you. If-
Yeah. And I think we'll bring other staff along.
Along.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Amanda was
As needed.
instrumental. So when we start to meet, then we'll bring other staff as needed too. But yeah, that's a great point.
Okay. So the slate that I have right now is Flint, Director Mack, Director Townsend Smith, Lisa, oh, no, an abbreviation I can't read, Jake and, Rick,
Rick,
Chad.
Chad.
pardon?
Chad.
Chad, sorry.
I appreciate you forgetting me on that one. The boss is not gonna let me off the hook.
Yeah, sorry, Chad.
Sorry, Chad, I wrote CO for some reason. So we have a motion to reformulate the revitalization of the ad hoc committee for district facilities with the slate of Flint, Mack, Townsend Smith, Lisa Harmon, Chad, Jake Wiley, and Rick Aragon. Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
So it's moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Townsend Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. 10F, consider adoption of ordinance 24-04 for revision of Administration Code, Chapter 5.03, Investment Policy, Sections 5.03.010 through 5.03.210.
Yes, so I'll actually talk about this item and the next item together because they go hand in hand.
They're tied, yeah.
But these items are really, I'll say threefold. One is we need to update the administrative code to be in alignment with government code. There was just some cleanup that was necessary, so administrative. There were some things which were just wiser to do. You'll see all of this outlined in the board report, but things like technically the code allowed for us to invest in derivatives and swaps. That just isn't appropriate for an agency our size. So that removes that option, even though I don't know that we ever have or ever would practically. So those kinds of things. So that'd be point one, is cleanup. Point two, really the driving force on the timing and trying to get this to you as soon as possible is to take advantage of, I'd say, new tools that the district has available with local government investment pools, specifically the one we're interested in is CAMP. There are a few different options out there, but this is very similar to LAIF, but a different strategy. And so LAIF is the state's pool of governments, and CAMP is a JPA and a voluntary JPA for other local governments to get together. And the difference between the two and why we are intending to leverage both, and this is point three, just giving you an update on what the intent is to do, is essentially for the district to get away, at least at the present moment when our reserves are lower, from buying individual securities that mature at certain dates, because that really ties our hands. And both options are liquid, meaning we can get our money within one day. And so between the two, for instance, LAIF invests a little bit longer term. So if interest rates go down really quickly, they stay higher for longer. So it's advantageous in a lower interest rate or lowering interest rate environment to be able to move all our money over to LAIF. And in the event where rates skyrocket, which just recently happened in the last couple of years, CAMP is invested very short term. And so you see your rates go up almost week by week. So you get to take advantage of a rising rate environment with the other one, where LAIF would be much slower. For instance, LAIF is still only at 4% when everybody else has been at 5% plus for over a year now. So to leverage the two, depending on what kind of environment we are, and we can easily move money between one to the other to capture instantly the higher rates. And so so what this investment code policy does is allows us to invest in local government investment pools. And what they invest in are the most safe securities that are there, mostly treasury bills, and then top rated corporate paper, all of this very short term. So so that's what the investment code change does allow.
I'm sorry, Rick, are you referring to private or public? Or is this something totally different?
So the entity that we're now looking to invest in is a public entity, a government entity, a JPA of governments. They happen to invest a small portion into what we call commercial paper. So let's say if Microsoft issued IOU notes that are 2 months before they're paid off, they technically could invest in things like that, but it would be highest rated and only a small portion of their portfolio.
Okay, thank you.
So, but by and large, they're treasury securities. that
Okay,
they're investing.
thank you.
And so the investment code change would allow for local government investment pools. So that's a precursor to being able to invest in CAMP. And so we need the second item with a special resolution adopted by the board to actually open an account with CAMP. And so that's why that's attached onto it. So overall, the big message is while we're at lower reserves, the intent is to really leverage the two accounts, LAIF and CAMP, and not to invest in individual securities, so we don't tie our hands there. I actually already sold, I think it was 4 securities all at a gain, so that we have more money available. And to give some perspective, we have about 15 million right now in unrestricted actual funds. 4 of those are in individual securities, which means unless we wanted to sell them at a loss, so
No.
not intending to do that, we really only have about 10 to cover us, which is why you'll hear later on in the separate items over the next few months, a line of credit option coming before you. So we're much more actively managing cash. So just to put it that way, one of the good options with this is we've already moved a significant amount of money that was in essentially non-interest bearing accounts to the equivalent of this, waiting for CAMP to open up. So we're earning over 5% now, where we're earning nothing on about 5 or 6 million. So that will help with some of the funding issues this year. So
I have a couple questions. What do we anticipate the annual earnings to be with adoption of that policy?
so CAMP is earning 5.5% now, and it's going to change with the interest rate environment, but I expect between 4.5 to 5.5 this year.
In terms of dollars, I'm sorry.
Oh, it depends on how much funding we have available. And so that's one of the things I'm actively working on, is a cash flow forecast to see.
Okay.
Frankly, we'll probably need a line of credit, or at least that'll be the safer option. So, until I know what the projected cash is, I could tell you that.
And then I also had just a question about LAIF, because it says that the money is invested in the state surplus investment fund with the state of California, and the treasurer of the state of California manages it with the budget deficit that California has. Is there any risk with us using that fund? Like, could the legislature come in and do a money grab of any of the money that we have in there?
So the short answer is they will tell you no, because this was a threat when we had the last state fiscal
Yeah.
crisis, when we were issuing IOUs, and local governments were very concerned that there was going to be a money grab. So I know at least a law, maybe even a constitutional provision, was passed to protect the funds. So there's much more explicit legal protection now than there was the last time. But I'd have to ask Alfred on a legal analysis on just how foolproof that is. But there isn't concern, at least nothing in the next few years, that would be at all a risk.
Good question.
There's a lot of billions
Yeah.
that are in deficit at the state level. I'm concerned about that, because at one time they talked about even raiding the CalPERS fund
Mhm.
and other funds that were protected. So just something to keep an eye out about. We don't want to lose our money. Yeah.
Very good question.
Really no guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a note to that, the advantage to having multiple of these kinds of accounts like CAMP or money market funds, which are very equivalent, is if there's any hint of risk.
I was going to say, with the liquidity in a 24-hour
Yeah.
you
Cash it out.
cash it out quick, but
So-
it means you have to be on top of your game.
I think he is.
Yes.
So those are the items. So the first item being the adoption of the ordinance that changes the investment
Okay.
policy, and then the second item, the
To-
resolution that gives us access to the county.
And the volunteer committee, budget and finance, felt good about
Recommended.
this, recommended it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So do I have a motion for the revisions to that and to the administrative code? Also move. Is there a second? Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Mack to approve the changes to the admin code. Sections 503. Verbal vote. Roll call.
Director Johnson,
Abstain.
Abstain?
Mhm.
Okay.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Townsend Smith,
Aye.
Director Dale,
Aye.
Director Hamilton.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1 with Director Johnson abstaining.
Okay, consider adoption of resolution 2024-04, adding access to the California Asset Management Program CAMP as an authorized investment. I don't know that we need any discussion. We just had it. I so move.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain?
I'm thinking this through.
Okay,
I will go with the board.
okay. Thank you, Julie. Item number H, consider adoption of ordinance 24-06, revision of the administrative code section 5.01.020, accounts payable signers.
So this item primarily came up because we had to bring a resolution before you, which is the next item, on updating the bank account signers. This is a resolution we send to the bank. In that resolution, we reflect language which is in the administrative code, which is that any check that's issued that's over $50,000 takes a physical signature of a board member. As far as I can tell, this requirement has been on our books for a very long time. I can't even find the origin of it. And so thought this was an opportunity at least to bring up for discussion of the board, whether that was still necessary. There's included in your packet a survey of other agencies. You'll find that we're the only agency that has this practice. Not to say it's any judgment on it, but the thought is that at least two controls are there to help the board with both transparency and accountability for staff. One being, regardless of the check signing, any expenditure over $50,000 contracts or obligation of funds comes before you, before we obligate the funds. Invoices are after, that's come into play. And the other is you get a report every month of every dollar that we spend and who we spend it with. And so there's full transparency over who's being paid and how much, and at any time you can ask about any of that. And so this is really an administrative item to remove a step to go through and arranging for board members to come in, whether that's still necessary. And so it would be to be in alignment with the other agencies. And so I'll open any questions.
Yeah, we talked this through, and I mean, that was really it. It was kind of an efficiency thing where, I don't think we've ever really had any timing issues, but that came up too. Like if there was a problem trying to get somebody in, I mean, it could potentially delay payments. And then just feeling like, we have a lot of transparency built in. Obviously, yeah, everything that we pay is shown every single month. And like Rick said, all the controls ahead of time. So we really can't spend anything that isn't approved ahead of time. And I thought Rick brought up a great point at the committee too, as far as, not putting someone in a bad position as far as we've already committed to, and, this is work that's already been done, or things we've already committed to. These are San Diego County Water Authority payments, or could be Eastern payments, whatever, as we move forward. But, if there was something we didn't want to sign, puts us in a kind of a eerie spot. So again, it's the pleasure of the board. It's a practice that's been going on a long time, but just for efficiency's sake, it's just removing a step and without removing the controls. That was it.
Makes sense.
I'd like to make a comment. I think that's probably a good idea, because I know, I wouldn't say frequently, but in a way it was frequently. I got a phone call from Don or text all the time, like, can you please, I need to find a director to sign these checks. And I'm like, okay, I'll come on before or after school. So if it helps being more efficient, I'm all for that.
And I agree with Director Mack. I've been asked to do this and you go and, you're asked to sign, but it's more of an act than going into it. It's a commitment prior and you're just signing the check. So I think this is a better move.
And of course, you'll still all be signers and in the case of an emergency or
Yeah.
whatever comes up. I mean, we still want the ability to have a board member be a
Mhm.
check signer, but that
Right.
stays too.
Budget and finance?
Looked at this and I think the staff did a really great job, Rick and crew, to point out that the purpose, if the purpose of the board member signing the check is to make sure that everything is in order. The fact is, there are so many checks and balances already in the system that by the time the check is printed, all of that has been
Yes.
validated. And, I think that I have my own personal belief that that requirement came into being when this board was walking, talking disaster and the public had no trust or faith. And therefore, as part of cleanup, it is that a board member has to sign a check. And when I saw the list of agencies that do not do this, and we were the only agency that does do this, I'm kind of thinking time for us to join
Yeah.
the mainstream here. And I don't think that there is any doubt that the policies and the processes that the staff operates under to validate that a check payment is valid and appropriate. I don't think there can be any real denial there. So, and some of you means you don't get the goofy phone call. I mean,
We did.
Mhm.
I really appreciate the table that's in here comparing other agencies to us. It makes it a no-brainer really with moving it forward. I'd like to see tables like this with other actions. I'd move approval.
Second.
Moved by Director Dale, seconded by Director Johnson to approve the ordinance. Roll call vote, please.
Director Johnson,
Aye.
Director Mack,
Aye.
Director Townsend Smith,
Aye.
Director Dale,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
motion carries 5-0.
Item number 10I, consider adoption of resolution 2024-03 establishing individuals with check signing authority.
So this is the follow-up administrative item. It's just reflecting myself and now Director Dale that she's been appointed on the check signing list. Option 1 of the 2 would reflect what you just acted on, which is taking out the language that had that extra requirement.
Okay. I move we accept the signing authority.
Option 1.
Option 1.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number J, discussion and possible action regarding the CSDA Board of Directors call for nominations, seat A. This is currently occupied by Joe.
Yes, so we received a notice, call for nominations for seat A, which up and down the state, we're the southern region. It's quite a large region that it covers. It's for a 3-year term on the CSDA board. Joe McKenzie from Vista Irrigation District is the incumbent, and it indicated she intends to run. But we wanted to bring this to the board. The process for the nominations requires if you are going to run, that you provide a copy of our resolution or minute action by the board supporting that nomination. So we wanted to bring this to you for open discussion. If anybody was interested in, it's open to board of directors and I think the general manager. If you notice in the recommendations, the general manager is not listed there. So I appreciate your not consideration.
Would you like to step outside the room for a few minutes? Any discussion?
Well, Mr. Hamilton, you were thinking about.
I was thinking about LAFCO.
Oh,
Well, this wouldn't be Monday morning at 8 o'clock.
I know, yeah,
It would be Sacramento.
it would be Sacramento. Never mind.
Yeah, just to give you a little flavor, it is, yeah, $10 board meetings, 4 to 5 annually, in Sacramento.
And one at the conference.
At
Mhm.
least one committee, 3 to 5 times a year in Sacramento. And then the events, right? Legislative days, the annual conference. So it's a bit of a commitment.
and I ran against her twice and lost twice.
That doesn't have anything to do with it. Somebody has to shovel horse poop every morning. So,
In my latest meeting up in Sacramento, I do feel that Joe feels very strongly that she will be nominated and win.
I
I
believe
still
that.
think she's defeatable. You just gotta campaign hard. But anyway, nope.
Not hearing any other.
I believe the board is not considering this.
Okay, so we can move on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible appointment of Miguel Gasca to serve as a public member and appointment of Rick Aragon as the alternate member of the Engineering and Operations Committee.
Yeah, so we received interest letter from former Director Gasca wanting to serve on the E&O committee. He is still a ratepayer of the district, so eligible. And also at the committee meeting, we discussed the alternate that was vacated by Ms. Largent being filled by Rick. So that's what's before you now, the considering those two appointments to the Engineering and Operations.
Any discussion? I move that we accept the appointments as recommended.
Second,
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Johnson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number L, consider the appointment of Pete Hensley as member of the Budget and Finance Committee.
So Mr. Hensley's term is up. I think he served at least a 4-year term. And he is interested in continuing serving on the Budget and Finance Committee. I believe that was very much a supported thing, but again, requires a reappointment of the board, which.
Just add, Pete is the only certified CPA on the budget. It's a good idea to keep Pete.
well, by golly, let's keep them on there.
Moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Hamilton.
I've had the honor of working with him on that committee. He's extremely knowledgeable.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Information items, operations engineering report. Administrative services report, finance report. Any specific items?
I think all the the reports are attached to the board action. Questions?
I just had a comment on the ops report, and just commend the staff in the operating the sewer system. January 22nd had the 4th largest storm in California history. And the Biden administration declared this a California disaster for the storms, and there were no spills. So I know that's been problematic in the past, and I just want to pass on, kudos to that crew to keep everything in the pipe and not out of the pipe.
Yeah,
during that
it's
storm.
actually both events, the January 22nd and then the kind of the multi-day event. It was really more steady, but the multi-day event happened in early February. Really some extraordinary efforts were needed to avoid that. I don't know, it's probably detailed in there a bit. But we're talking, rain for rent tanks on site at Lift Station 2, and we're hauling sewage to a downstream point. It's really in response to an undersized sewer line along North River Road. And so you're going to start to see those things show up on our CIP next month at our workshop. But
It's expensive too, because it's deep.
yeah, but even I had kind of made a point of this at our banquet on Saturday. It's not even just okay, there's a lot of effort that has to be done there. It's all in the rain. So you have people out of traffic control out in the rain, and there was people working 16-hour shifts, right? We kind of have a limit, and we're cycling people through, go home, get some sleep, and then come back. 8 hours from now, we want to, it was something else. Staff was, after that second one, they were worn out.
Mhm.
They were worn out. So I was going to have Robert give a little update on this, but we have 4 leaks going on right now. So he couldn't make it. But and there's costs associated with it. And I think this is something that Director Dale had mentioned back in January was, sometimes these investments look large, right? And it will look large, right? Replacing a sewer line that long, and it's not easy. But when you start looking at the costs, even the costs that we're accumulating now, which, okay, I think we were at about 55,000 in those costs, right? Just the tanks and the hauling and those kind of things. But also there's overtime in there, quite a bit of overtime. And so when you start to look at those things year after year after year, number one, you don't want to keep operating like that. But the second thing is, it's going to save you at some point, right? And your staff, right? They won't want to leave. Maybe.
How much will the lift station help?
The lift station will help. Yes. We're going to have some pretty good emergency storage there. This is the new lift station over at Thoroughbred. It's going to have 350,000 gallons of storage to help with some equalization. But even that, I mean, you put that storage in, you want to reserve some of that for actual emergency, right? One of your lift station goes down and those kind of things. So we do want to start, where we've got these known deficiencies, we do want to start taking care of those things. It's going to take some time because, it isn't inexpensive, but those are going to be some of the big topics we're talking about next month when we're talking about the CIP. But yeah, operations staff, all the credit goes to them. It's quite an effort. Thank you for mentioning that.
Reports and comments. Legal counsel. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did a written report and update on a new proposed ballot measure that generated statewide concern, basically proposing to revise the California state constitution to limit the ability of local agencies to charge fees or charges without voter approval, unless the fee falls within a quote unquote, defined list of exempt fees. And even then, the fee would not be able to be processed administratively. You have to go through the ordinance process for all these sorts of fees. And it also requires that any fee or charge imposed by the agency will have to be the minimum amount necessary to provide the fee, not just the actual cost, but the minimum amount necessary. So it just raises the door to all sorts of questions, kind of second guessing the agency. And it further requires, not only these minimum cost issues, but the agency would also have to deduct any source of revenue that may apply to the charge, taxes, other exempt charges, grants, state or federal funding. So, a lot more process that would be imposed for any sort of fee, whether it was big or small. This measure was proposed by the California Business Roundtable, which is an organization consisting of executives for the largest corporations in the state. And it's opposed by dozens of agencies and industry groups statewide. So the current status, the state of California has filed a petition with the California Supreme Court to prohibit the measure from being placed on the ballot. And a coalition of agencies and industry groups, including ACWA, CSDA, League of California Cities, State Association of Counties, and just goes on and on, filed an amicus brief opposing this ballot measure on the grounds that it would impair the ability of local agencies to provide essential services and greatly increase the agency cost and procedures that ultimately would have to be passed on to customers. The other strange thing about it is it includes this retroactive provision
Yeah.
And it goes back to January 1st, 2022. So that even if, the agency passed the fee increase and the fee increase, complied with Prop 218 and all of the, various legal requirements we already have to comply with. If it didn't comply with the new procedures they're, suggesting in this ballot measure, the prior fee increases would be deemed void. And then the agency would have to readopt the fee within 12 months. And it also increases the burden of proof that would be necessary to justify the fees and charges, place the burden of proof on the agency to show the charge complies with all these new requirements and by a clear and convincing evidence standard, not just the, preponderance of the evidence. So a very high standard of proof there. So the local agency coalition with Aqua, CSDA, and the others, they're, one of their arguments that, this is essentially an unlawful revision of the state constitution that's, so significant, you would actually need the legislature to do it. It's not something that can be done by voter initiative. So, the Supreme Court's currently considering, the state's petition, the amicus briefs, and, hoping that the court will come back and just prevent it from qualifying for the 2024 ballot in any event. So, something that's been a great concern to, a lot of our, other local agencies and many of the industry groups we're involved with. So I wanted to be sure the board is aware of this. It could have significant impacts on the way we would, process fees and charges in the future. So that concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
Yeah, I have one. Howard Jarvis Coalition is in favor of this proposition because they're concerned about constant erosion of Prop 13 by the legislature. And while I agree, it looks like this was an overreach on their part to try to protect Prop 13. It does present a challenge in that you have a PAC or whatever you want to call them that's concerned about taxpayers' rights in favor of this. I mean, I can't agree with what they're proposing. It has a very negative impact on our operational capabilities.
So I haven't seen anything about this anywhere in the news. Is there a petition out there that people are signing currently, or are they trying to?
I think they've already done this, the voter signature collection to get it on the ballot measure. And they were successful in getting enough of it. But the original presentation that I saw that came through Howard Jarvis communications were, very narrow in terms of what they're protecting. And yet when you dig down and read through the things, it's like, man, it goes way overhead in terms of impacting local agencies and things' ability to operate.
There was a very similar bill or constitutional amendment that was being put forward within the last 6 years. It was essentially a blackmail to the legislature regarding a sugar tax. The sugar companies were put this through, and it's a very attractive on its surface to voters. And so they used it. And then as soon as they got what they needed from the legislature to get exempted from the sugar tax, they withdrew the proposal. And so I'm not sure if there's a similar tactic going on here. There is another, and Alfred, maybe there's an update and you would know, another constitutional vote at the same election to raise the voter threshold to whatever the impact is. So if your new initiative says you need 66%, then or that's the new requirement you're going to be imposing, then it takes 66% to approve that measure. And so it's also retroactive, or at least it would affect this one. So it would, if it passes, then it would take, I think it was 66%. I
think so.
Yeah, for this measure to pass rather than a simple majority. So there's a few different things at play here. That's true.
That wonderful bubble up north. Anyway. Any general managers report?
Yeah, I've got a few things I wanted to cover. couple that I know our meeting ran pretty long last month, so I kind of skipped some of the things I felt could wait a month. But back in December, there was a deadline to make a decision on what we wanted to do about the two PFAS settlements. So with DuPont and 3M, it was a kind of a group with DuPont, but in essence, those two settlements. And we haven't had any impacts from it, right? We don't have a well that's impacted or anything like that. And really, the settlements were based on or payments were based on the impacts to your agency. So it was flow and concentration of PFAS was kind of the formula they were using to determine your payouts. So the thing was, you could either opt in and get your payment if you do have impacts, or you had the option to opt out. In which case it does reserve your right at any point that if there is impacts, you could pursue that, you could still pursue litigation. If you didn't opt out, you're done, right? There were some provisions in there, to where if it happens in the next few years or something, you could still do it. But we did decide, considering we have no impacts at this point, to just go ahead and opt out. It just reserves our right. I don't know if we're going to ever sue 3M. But again, it didn't take much. And so we went ahead and opted out. So I just wanted to inform the board of that on both of those settlements. And Nossaman helped out with that. Kind of a financial thing. The state, as part of the arrearages program, they had not leftover, but they had money still available. And basically the state's going to lose it if they don't, if agencies don't claim it. So we went back into Rick and his team dug back into the time period that they were allowing that, and found basically we had about 116,000 in arrearages from that period of time. And so we have submitted to do that. So great for us. Obviously, we recover some revenue, and it wipes it off the books for our customers. So anyway, so that's in with the state, and they were really, they're trying to give it out, to if it's out there, anything eligible. This kind of relates to the County Water Authority too. They had a meeting on just a couple of days ago, last Thursday, and big discussion there was on the MET rates, the MWD rate proposals, and we may have talked about this a little bit, but there was an initial proposal out where MET was biannual budget. They're proposing a 13% rate increase, January 1, 2025, and 8% in 26. But there's some alternatives being thrown out there, and really the big one that seemed to have caught traction is increasing their ad valorem tax. So how they're collecting a fee on their property tax to cover state water project expenses. And so they had one workshop. The second workshop is today, actually, up at MET, and it actually expanded a little further. They were talking at first about just doubling it. It's pretty small. I think they said for like an average, it's based on your value, your property value. They were talking about doubling it from $24 to it was like $48, and it was a pretty significant amount of revenue that MET would receive from that, and that would offset the need for the rate increases. They're actually talking about maybe even pushing that further to further reduce that percentage. So they were talking about, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what the number was. I just read it this morning, but it's doubling it plus a little bit more, and reducing that 13% all the way down to like 4%, somewhere in the 4% range. So the rate increases for the next 2 years would be very small. So
the equivalent would be something like $100 extra on property tax for a $700,000 home per year. $100 per year gets you down to about a 4% rate increase.
Right. So for us, I think it's a positive. I think a lot of the retail agencies are feeling like that's as we understand, that's Eastern's position. So we're glad they're advocating for that, because that's, January 1, 2025, that's difficult timing for us. We're looking at, detaching sometime, mid to late 2024. So to have a 13% rate increase hanging out in front of us on January 1. Actually, regardless of who we're with, though, even if we were with the County Water Authority, it would still be a big impact. But
It'd be bigger if we were still with New Order.
it's, yeah, the messaging would be very tough, and obviously we're going to be running through those kind of those scenarios, but we should have some pretty good answers in the next month. I think they were looking at April as kind of making some decisions. I hope they get there that quickly, so kind of gives us some clarity as we move into July 1 and January 1 to help us make some decisions. But that's ongoing, and that was a big discussion at the County Water Authority board meeting. I tuned in really just to kind of listen to just to see kind of where they stood with it. There obviously a lot of the general managers that sit on the board were very much in favor of the ad valorem option. There seemed to be some mix with the city of San Diego on the other side, but I don't know, we'll see where that all lands. That's kind of just getting started. So, but that's kind of the big news really in the entire region is the Met rate proposals. Speaking of budget, you probably got an invite to 3 consecutive workshops. So starting on March 19th, we're going to have a joint board, budget and finance, engineering and operations committee meeting. That'll be in March. And the primary goal at that meeting is to go over the CIP. We'll be focusing in on the first 5 years, but looks like we're expanding that to about 10. We're going to take about a 10-year look, both on the water and wastewater side, which really kind of kicks off the really all these budget discussions. So we're going to talk about the CIP in March. April and May will be our budget discussion. So really kind of plugging in some of those, the CIP costs, the rate impacts we're anticipating for Met. As we move through construction, getting a gauge on, timing of detachment and when we'll start to see the savings from on the wholesale water side, and, a big lift to really try to factor all that into how we want to structure our rates moving forward. So those will be 3 really important meetings. That's March 19th, April 9th, and May 14th. And of course, the public's open, can always attend and participate in those meetings. I've been kind of spreading that around too, that everybody's welcome.
What time?
Those will all be at 1 o'clock, same as the board meeting. Any questions on that before I move on? 14th. I believe they're all Tuesdays. So we want to keep it same day, same time.
Is there a closed session prior to those workshops?
There shouldn't, I don't believe we're gonna have closed session. No, we'll say if we have any closed session items, those will be the regular board meetings, unless there's something urgent. But we don't anticipate that.
Will there be
Zoom option? Well, it'll be a regular board meeting, so we'd have to treat it just the same.
Workshops? No.
Well, we're gonna have a quorum of the board present. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's going to be a special board meeting. It'll
I
be a
gotta
special
do that
board
in April.
Okay. Yeah, and Teresa will work all that out, how we want, how we do that. A couple of things just to note, again, this is kind of on the transparency side, but you're going to see, again, Director Dale mentioned that we have an agreement with Oceanside where they they convey and treat our wastewater. And over the last couple of years, I think Oceanside actually had some turnover in staff, and we didn't get billed for at some point. And so
I was appalled to hear that during the committee meeting.
So anyways, I mean, we have a great working relationship with the city of Oceanside. And so we kind of reconciled all of it, and we're going to kind of bring it all up to speed by middle of next year, I think. So over a course of whatever it is, 16, 17 months. So you will see, a substantial payment to Oceanside each month in the neighborhood of $200 and some odd $1,000. That'll show up on your check register for the foreseeable future. So, but they are costs that we owe, and yeah, we're gonna keep moving forward. We actually have a meeting with them tomorrow, just to kind of make sure everything stays on track. And I think we've really already got there, and probably get better from here. So, the other thing was we had told you we were going to bring back the cost accounting, opting into that cost accounting, the CUPCA. And we dug into that a little further. I had, Chad and his group really kind of dug in all the kind of the fine print requirements on what that meant. And there was just a few things in there that we didn't like for the way we kind of operate. One of them being it makes it difficult to do your own in-house work. And we have some pretty capable construction crews. And so if you kind of hit that, I think it was like the $60,000 or $75,000 threshold, it really makes it difficult to actually hire your own employees to do construction projects. And so that, and there were some other things in there too, where we, just actions we were going to have to take that, not really beneficial to us. And so we've decided we're not going to bring that back. And the benefit was you do get a little higher threshold on, just being able to go to direct to, contractors and things like that. But I think it wasn't that big of a benefit where, the drawbacks just seemed to outweigh it. So that's the kind of staff level decision that was made.
Making to a lot more auditing too.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Potential for audits and things like that. So, which that's okay, but really it was the hindrance on on our
To be able to
construction.
do your own
Yeah.
work.
And that's all I have.
Good.
Yes. Sorry.
One more thing too, supporting and following up what you were saying on the PFAS settlements. They had this strange provision in there where for, the agencies who accepted the settlement and opted in, they're basically agreeing to relieve, 3M and DuPont in the future. So if they get sued by, some other third party in the future and they win, and then 3M or DuPont would have this, additional payout to make, the people who accepted the money would then be on the hook for it. And so for an agency like us who didn't, we don't really have big impacts, and, the scope of the PFAS, so ubiquitous nationwide, hasn't really been fully characterized. We're still waiting on what the enforceable standard would be. It just seemed, premature and risky at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to show you this. This is the 4 leaks. This is one of the 4 leaks. This is the one from today.
Kenny, get your truck out of there.
So this is out on Valley del Sol, kind of over by us. Yeah. This pop today, we were working on, there was 2 leaks actually on the same street that we had kind of planned to tackle today. And then this thing right around 11 o'clock this morning, we got this.
South
called
side
in.
of Dahlia.
Yes. Yep.
Kenny, get your truck out of there.
I would have seen that on my, from my.
So that's,
property if
so
it
that's
was-
Robert's weak excuse for not being here.
What size line was that?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Eight,
sure.
8 or 14?
Yeah, I don't think it's a large line, but 8 or 12, something
8
like
or
that.
12.
Yeah.
Lots of water. San Diego Water Authority? You
Well,
sort of covered it?
yeah, I did. That was the main point.
Okay. The amusing point I had told Jake about yesterday was reading through the January minutes. There was a nice retirement recognition for Tom Kennedy in the January meeting, and Escondido reappointed him in February. So he had a 1-month retirement.
It was nice. They gave him a nice
Yeah.
little plaque and the whole thing. I went down there to specifically to comment on that item. So
Anyway, LAFCO, CSDA, sorry.
Yeah, we had a quarterly meeting about 2 weeks ago. The speaker was interesting, was one of the better ones again. It was from the San Diego voters. And they were just showing us the ballot and how you would vote. But there were a couple interesting things. I'd asked a question. They were talking about basically everything's mail and ballot. And I'm going like, Well, I thought, because I'm in my area, in Rainbow, we don't really have anywhere we can vote. And I know that's why we have ballots. And they said there was I guess legislative law that was passed and San Diego joined into that they can do mail-in ballots. And the lady said at one time they had over 1,000 polling places that you could go vote. Now it's a little over 200. Because they've opted in to do the ballot, mail-in ballot. And so I thought that was interesting. The other thing I didn't really realize that she was saying that the ballots have 5 different languages. And then, so I thought that was pretty, so I mean, I did get a couple things, but it was just interesting. It was not that much informative. It was okay.
LAFCO,
Yeah, LAFCO did meet in February. Probably the most interesting thing, they are starting the municipal services review on the county water authority. So they gave a schedule and an update on that, and you know, some of the things they're going to be looking at, and it's pretty comprehensive. Sound like it's going to be pretty comprehensive as far as governance and rate structure going forward, and things of that nature. So yeah, more to come on that. I think they said they were looking to have a draft done by middle of this year, June-ish.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think they're already kind of down the road on it, and yeah, more to come on that.
Interesting. Santa Margarita River Watershed Water Master Steering Committee won't meet until April. Nothing to report. Aqua,
Nothing. But there is in May, the convention, it's the first part of May, it's like the 7th or 8th in Sacramento. So I believe we're all booked who is going to go.
committees, workshops, seminars, and training.
I like to report it. First, on February 8th, I did attend the CSDA Finance Corp board meeting. I'm a board member there. And we had some great presentations regarding private and public. So it was very informative. And then shout out on to the Communications and Customer Service workshop on February 15th. Excellent, very informative. It was a morning program, but Carlene and her team did a very phenomenal job on that. Great input from multiple parties of interest. So that was very informative. And I look forward to others doing something like that. So thank you.
Board members' comments, requests to attend upcoming meetings, conferences, and seminars. On board members' comments, I'd like to remind everybody that their Form 700 has to be completed and filed by April 1st, is it?
April 2nd.
2nd. So if you haven't done your Form 700, please do it. Anything else?
I have comment.
Okay,
I would like to attend the Aqua conference
um,
in May.
those are slam dunk.
Okay,
The major conferences like Aqua and CSDA, you don't need a prior approval.
very good. Okay.
Yeah, and actually, well, I'll tell you after. We've got an onboarding thing, and I think it's got our admin code in there on how that works. But yeah, those are yeah,
Okay,
you can just register. But Trace will take care.
sounds good. And I appreciate the support and look forward to working with all of you and you.
Great.
Staff too.
Great.
Can I confirm something here? On the calendar for March, we have the 19th is the workshop. And then we have another board meeting on the 24th.
Yeah, we'll have our regular board meeting because the workshop is truly, we're just going to focus on CIP.
Okay,
we'll
so
have-
that's true for those 3 months,
Yes.
April?
Yeah, we'll still have the regular
Okay.
board meeting. We're basically comboing some of the committee meetings with board workshops.
Got it.
Thank you, Patty, because I just want to make sure. So in March, on Tuesday, the 19th, we have a meeting. a special board meeting, and then on Tuesday, March 26th, we have our
Regular.
schedule.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Okay.
List of suggested agenda items for the next regular board meeting. Be a short board meeting.
We'll see.
Never.
Until staff fills it up for me. Okay, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned till March 26th.
No.
Well, March 19th for the special meeting.
Oh.